On our regular agenda schedule, the sixth item has been deleted. We will not listen to that today or hear that today, and so if anybody hears for that, it's an amendment to a zoning code, so that will not be in there. We'll have 5 regular agenda items. First order of business is the minutes of June 18th. Is there a motion to approve? A motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, before we make the final decision on that, I supplied just a summary. I didn't have a chance to do that on the work session. It's just only 3 paragraphs. I just want that to be included within the minutes. So if the motion could be amended to include staff's addendum to the minutes just describing the work session, if you're comfortable with the language, then we'd have accurate minutes from last meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Corton. Is that acceptable, Mr. Elkin?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Additions, corrections to the minutes? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes approved. First item on the regular agenda is a rezone petition, and this will be tied in with the second item also, but we will hear them separately. Be a rezone petition to consider a request for a rezone petition from ag to public medium density and a high density of Westridge First Edition for lots 1 and 17 through 21, Block 1. The site is generally located in the south half of Section 31, Township 140 North, Range 96 East. Property is approximately 45.42 acres. This time I'd ask the party presenting, please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, Larry Nygaard from Roars Development. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Don't have anything to add to the report that was issued by the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Nygaard. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Corton.
Mr. Nygaard, I just wanted to let you know that, we had talked about the 250 apartment units on Westridge 2 to be transferred over. I didn't notice that we had it in the DA, so I'm just going to add additional language that basically that Westridge 2 and this replat would be capped at 250 apartment units that we have already agreed upon. Just so it's there, so there's no ambiguity in case I get ran over by a truck by you later on. So
That's fine. We don't have a problem with that.
So I would ask that we could add a condition. The condition would be, if you want to include that no more than 250 apartment units shall be considered in the subject plat. That's what we had negotiated with Mr. Nygaard, and it just memorializes that agreement between us.
So that could be the 11th condition, not the 21st?
That would be for the rezoning. The rezoning, we don't have any conditions for that, so this would just be one condition to be attached to
One
that.
condition?
Correct.
For the rezone,
Mhm.
okay.
And you could just, as part of your motion, you could reference staff's recommended language if you want to, so you don't have to, I've already read that into the record. You could just say that you would recommend approval, or whatever your motion would be, contingent upon staff's recommended condition.
And then just to be specific, that unit count is regarding R3 zoning.
Correct, absolutely. And the language in there is apartments that I've stated in there.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Nygaard? Thank you very much.
You want me to sit down or?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can have a chair. Hopefully we won't keep you up too long here. This time I'd ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to make comment on this rezone petition, please feel free to come forward. If being none, is there anyone in the commission wish to make further comment? We've heard from Mr. Catan that I'm taking this as the staff does recommend, and with the one condition regarding the no more than 250 apartment units, that being R3 in this plat in this subdivision. Correct?
That is correct. We recommend approval of the rezoning petition this morning.
Thank you. At this time, we'll close public portion of this hearing, and I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of rezoning petition from ag to residential medium and high-density residential and public as depicted in Exhibit A, as meeting all the requirements of Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second that.
We have a second. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Rezone recommended. Item 2 on our regular agenda then is a preliminary plat. It's to consider a request for a replat of West Ridge First Edition for lots 1 and 17 through 21, Block 1. The site is located in the south half of Section 31, Township 140 North, Range 96 West. Property is approximately 45.42 acres. And at this time, I'd ask the party presenting, please feel free to come forward.
Larry Nygaard again, here to answer any questions about the platting of this edition.
Any questions, comments from Mr. Nygaard at this time?
Mr. Nygaard?
Yes.
What's shown as tract or lot 18, most of that is in the, or if not all of it, is in the existing floodplain. I've had a chance to see the preliminary design from your engineers, and a portion of that lot is going to be utilized for stormwater detention. And I was wondering if we want to split lot 18 out and call part of that out as a tract?
The whole thing.
It's going to be called Tract 1, okay. So we'll make that revision to Lot 18, call it a tract.
Mr. Kubas, I'd like to comment on that. We are going to be reshaping 18. There's actually a portion of that lot that potentially is developable, so we're going to look at that whole tract and identify the 2 areas that we intend to build for retention.
Okay.
And separate that out. So when we present the final plat, we'd like to show you those changes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Jackson?
I have no question for Mr. Nygaard, but for staff, some of this, a corner of this has been replatted already, it appears.
Mhm.
So this is really a second replat
Mhm.
of those lots that needs to be shown
It's part of the description of
in
this
the
project.
preamble and in the subtitle.
Absolutely.
It's an important detail.
The only reason that I didn't, to add on to your question, the only reason I didn't require this to be another addition is because we've already went to the west as 2, and this would be confusion if we go west and then east, and the sequential numbers don't add up. I try to keep replats. I like to keep replats as a unique name, but sometimes it just doesn't work out depending on how they're replatted. So we'll just call it as a replat, but we'll make sure that they include both those, the replats and the original plat as well as part of the description.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Mr. Nygaard.
Thank you.
This time I'd ask if there's anyone in the public who'd like to comment on this plat, this preliminary plat. Please feel free to come forward. Give us your thoughts. Being none, are there any comments from the commission? And Mr. Curtan, what do you recommend?
Staff recommends approval as described in the staff report with the 11 conditions of approval, or 10 conditions of approval.
Okay. Thank you. This time we'll close the public portion of this hearing, and I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat as depicted in Exhibit A, as meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare, along with staff recommendations.
Is there a second to that motion? A second by Mr. Kovash. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Preliminary plat recommended approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Nygaard. Item 3 on our regular agenda is a preliminary plat to consider a request for a replat of the SKF subdivision. The site is generally located in the northeast quarter of Section 16, Township 140 North, Range 96 West. The property is approximately 46.95 acres, and I'd ask at this time the party presenting, please feel free to come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Randy Wall. I'm the municipal group leader for KLJ Engineering in Dickinson. I'm here to represent the project this morning. I've been working, first of all, I'd like to say that I'd like to thank Mr. Josephson for all of his work on the project. We've been working very closely on getting this done. I'm just here to, I know there's a couple questions, and so I'm just here this morning to answer any questions you have and move this forward.
All right, any questions, comments at this time for Mr. Wall?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wall, can you tell us a little bit more about the, I think it's shown as private access or easement, or just access easement, I guess. What is the purpose, what's the thinking on it not being public right away?
The purpose of the easement is to be a private easement. That's the original intention. And what the applicant would like to do, what the owner would like to do is improve the roads as the demand for the lots within the subdivision arises. They would like to do all the maintenance on the road themselves. And so that's basically the intention, but, you know, we want to conform to whatever the city requires, so.
Mr. Kubas, I wonder if you have comments on that from engineering as far as what.
Mr. Chairman, from engineering standpoint, if this were to be a public right-of-way, the 50-foot north-south portion of that wouldn't meet our minimum standards. We'd want a 66-foot. And I'm not saying that this needs to be or should be a public right-of-way. If it would be private, it should be called out as a private easement. It's kind of spelt out as an access easement, not clarifying public or private. There is some wording in the proprietor's certificate saying that they dedicate public right-of-way, so it might lead one to believe that this is being dedicated as public right-of-way. But I don't know if this was originally platted as an access easement on the original SKF subdivision or not. I haven't had a chance to look at that. I think it's in our packet here. I guess it was just a lot one, block one at the time. So if the intent is for a private easement, I think it just needs to be spelled out as such.
Just one further comment. This easement was not established on any prior maps. And there's no possibility that this easement would ever be a through road. So.
Is there any time in the future that this easement would become a road if the lots were developed and public services were asked for, whether it be sewer, water, maintenance? I mean, the funding of this, it sounds like there's going to be a group effort for someone to provide road maintenance for more than one party, not just so there's possible conflict in the future, and we've seen this before, where then there's a request for the county or the city to come in and help out, take care of roads or whatever that's needed, you know, for infrastructure, water, sewer, snow removal.
Mhm.
So, do you see that that never is going to happen, you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Right now, there's, Southwest Water serves the parcel. There's no sewer available to this, so it's all going to have to be on-site sewage disposal. And I would foresee the owner creating a property owners association to manage the stormwater drainage, the road maintenance, any other issues that come up. But there's no possibility that this road will ever be a through road. It will only, this access easement will only serve the parcels that are being proposed by this preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman,
Jackson?
you know, generally, I have some discomfort with this, with the concept of the private road easements. We're seeing some come in at the county zoning level too. This happens to be in the ETZ, that's why we're looking at it. You know, I suppose in this case, it probably makes sense. Generally, I think we need to trend away from private road easements. But it probably makes sense here. But as Mr. Kubas points out, we really need to clean up the proprietor's certificate. You know, it talks about dedicating public right-of-way, and there is no public right-of-way, so we really should get that out of the proprietor's certificate.
Yeah, no problem.
And then with a private easement, it should state who it benefits. We've talked about that a number of times before with these private easements. In other words, name the lots that the private easement benefits. Otherwise, you know, it can leave it unclear in future legal situations.
I think that's a great great suggestion, Mr. Jackson, and we'd be happy to add that to the map.
Commissioner Steve Josephson.
Yes, Mr. Josephson.
When I give my staff report, I'm going to recommend that as a condition, along with, even though this is a private roadway, that the applicant would work with the county road superintendent, you know, to determine adequate size. I believe in the county subdivision regs, industrial roads are 80 feet.
Yes, they are.
80 feet of right-of-way. So, so prior to final plat approval, you know, that'll be a condition, is working with the county road superintendent.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that and provide whatever documentation that Mr. Josephson needs when we submit the final plat application.
I think those are good suggestions. I think if it moves forward, that the county should be really considered on what they want as far as roads. And Mr. Jackson's suggestion that even though it may be a private easement, agreement between private parties, non-public, that it be stated so that everyone in that private contract realizes what they're getting into, so that it's documented that in the future, in their legal entanglements, that the document here is clear.
Might I also suggest that we state the benefits of the private easement and the development agreement that's being required by the city? Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I suppose that'd be good business too. But this legal document, this plat, really needs to be clear as
Yes.
to what the intent is. And when we talk about public right-of-way, and then there's a private easement shown but no public right-of-way, 10 years from now, that's going to lead to confusion when
Right.
somebody looks at that plat.
Yeah, we'll be happy to make those changes to the map, no problem.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Kubas.
One other question or comment for Mr. Wall. You said that the intent was to have these lots serviced by private sewage systems. I don't know if you know the intent or the usage of the lots that are being split out, or maybe the owner doesn't even know that yet, but Lot 2 is less than an acre, so a private sewage system might be a challenge to get through the health department. Might want to look at I think the acreage is probably there between lots 1 and lot 2 if you did some minor shifting of lot lines to get those to be each an acre apiece, but something to look at. Again, the usage of lot 2 might not require sewerage, but if it would in the future. Just a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. I'll follow up on that.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Wall.
Thank you.
This time I'd ask if there's anyone from the public who would like to make comment on this preliminary plat, please feel free to come forward. Give us your thoughts. This time I'd ask Mr. Josephson, our city county planner, to give us his thoughts and recommendations.
Sure. Steve Josephson, City County Planner. This is the preliminary replat of the SKF subdivision, and it's in the extraterritorial zone. This was originally, most of this came in originally as the SKF subdivision, which was a one lot, one block subdivision, and that's where Solarby is currently located. The northern portion of it, I believe the northern 17 acres has been sold, it has been sold off. So in actuality, the replat, they're also proposing to add in some meets and bounds property on the south side. So in actuality, when this comes in for final plat, it should be titled as something else, including a replat of lot whatever, you know, in the SKF subdivision. And I've already spoken to the applicant about that. We're recommending approval with conditions, and there's conditions before you, and then I'm going to propose a couple of conditions too. The first condition is that we need to get a letter of formal request for service, and this can just be an email from the applicant to Southwest Water, you know, just stating that, asking that water, you know, that water service be available to the rest of that plat, and then to just submit that to city staff. And then prior to adoption of the final plat, the final subdivision agreement shall be approved by the city after hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Commission. And then also that the site plan be revised to indicate the acreage and legal descriptions of lots 1 through 4 in Block 1 and lots 1 and 2 in Block 2, because the current legal description includes a portion of it which was, they're not parties to the replat. Then I'm proposing another condition that the title for the prior to final plat, that the name of this be changed to a different subdivision, which would reflect the inclusion of this portion of the SKF subdivision, and also that the applicant work with the county road superintendent on to consult with them about road design and width within the interior of the subdivision. And then another one would be that they identify on the plat, if they're using an easement, which lots would benefit for that, and they can make a note of that right on the plat. And we've done that before with things in the ETZ, where to assure that the lots will be served if there's a private road or private drive or private easement.
Would it be too much to ask? I know you've got a lot to do with this, but I think the suggestion about the size of Lot 2, someone's going to go through all the trouble and realize all of a sudden down the road that Lot 2 they want to build something on, and they need a septic system.
They need to
and they need to reconfigure that so that lot for sure is big enough.
Reconfigure the lots in order to provide adequate wastewater approval. We'd have that as a condition, that all lots shall be large enough to.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. So anyone have any questions or comments?
I think I had something else, but. Then there was also the comment that was put in there about the dedication of right-of-way, that note be removed, prior to submittal of the final plat.
Right, no reference to public
No
if it really
reference
isn't
to-
public.
Right. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any other questions for Mr. Josephson?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jackson?
maybe, maybe as I look at this some more, maybe I'm making an assumption that I shouldn't be. Is it the intent that this access easement be private? Or is it intended to be a public access easement?
Well, I think the intent is to be, and Mr. Wall can answer this, is for it to be a privately maintained road that would serve those parcels with those lots within the subdivision.
That's correct.
Okay.
Probably to clarify the point, Commissioner Jackson, would be, from our stance, an easement only is a glorified driveway, and it only services one property. The point that this services two properties, which most of it does, it needs to be a private road, not an easement. So our language would be to remove any reference to easement. It'd have to be a private road.
So label-
Functions the same way. The HOA takes care of the private road, just like they would an easement. It's just an easement is a glorified driveway. And in this point, when you have two properties or more servicing it, it needs to be a road, either a dedicated road or a private road. So they would remove the easement language and put a private road to be maintained by the association.
So we can make a condition.
That'll be clarified.
Right, that'll be on the final site plan.
Okay.
This will be a privately maintained,
Okay.
that the
But
internal
we-
roadway will be privately maintained.
We are getting plats that say public access easement. We have seen that. So it's really important this is clarified. Our section line right of way, for instance, is a public access easement. So,
That is trumped by Century Code. It's the only reason that we describe it as that portion.
well, I understand, and you may want to get some advice from Mr. Coling on this, but these are important things. Make sure we get right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Josephson.
We'll get those conditions,
Okay.
finalized. Thank you.
This time, any other comments, questions from the commission? This time I'd ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to make comment on this preliminary plat. Please feel free to come forward. I think this has been around for 15 years or so, so it would be nice to see if something does get done with it. This time we'll close public portion of this hearing, and I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
Elkin.
the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary subdivision plat for a replat of the SKF subdivision, subject to the conditions listed. That's my motion.
Is there a second? Mr. Kovac, thank you. Second by Mr. Kovac. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Recommend approval with conditions.
Mr. Chairman, just the point of reference, there was some amending as part of staff's recommendation. I presume that was
That'll be a
included
part of
within
my
your
motion, yes.
recommendation. Okay, just wanted to make sure of that.
Let that be in the record.
You're being somewhat picky this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Item 4 on our regular agenda is a special use permit. It's to consider a request for a special use permit for a laundry service and dry cleaning. The site is approximately .69 acres and located at 1867 6th Avenue West. At this time, I'd ask the party presenting, please come forward.
Good morning, my name is Jared Toogood with GT Architecture. I'm representing the owner of the property on this, and we've got nothing additional to add. I'm just here to answer any questions you guys might have.
Any questions at this time for Mr. Toogood? Thank you very much.
Yep.
This time I'd ask for a recommendation from Ed Curton, the Community Development Director.
We have looked at the application, and we strongly support that. This is one use in this community that we desperately need. I think all could agree to, so we strongly support this recommendation.
Well, you've heard the recommendation and the proposal. At this time, I'd ask then if there's anyone in the public who would like to make comment on this special use permit, please feel free to come forward. Any further comments from the commission? Being none, we'll close the public portion of this hearing. I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kovash.
I move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of a special use permit for laundry service as meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Elkin. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Toogood. Item 5 is a special use permit. To consider a request for a special use permit for Kildare Vet. The site is situated at the northwest corner of the intersection of State Avenue, 21st Street West. Property is approximately 16.19 acres, and I'd ask the party presenting, please feel free to come forward.
Morning, Commission. I'm Dr. Shelley, and I am the owner and operator of the Kildare Vet Clinic up in Kildare, and also the State Avenue Vet Clinic here in Dickinson. We've outgrown our building where we're renting, and I was happy to find some land that might be available to build a large clinic that will be both serving small animals and horses.
Any questions or comments at this time for Ms. Lenz?
I have one. So you plan on moving out of your existing location?
To up there? Oh, yeah.
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 Because it's quite crowded down there.
It's very crowded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the location down here just does small animal. And what I'm doing is I'm expanding, I hired an equine surgeon and things like that, so we're expanding services. And that particular plot of land has a lot of floodplains that is not amenable to building, but is perfect for pasturing horses and patients like that. So.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
I like what you're doing here.
I think it is too. There's no problem with the state as far as you'll be able to keep horses, cows, whatever kind of animal you want overnight for weeks, pasture them indoors, outdoors, whatever.
When I spoke with Ed, we looked into this when I was looking for land for a veterinary clinic. It seemed to be that ag with special permit was the most ideal for such a thing. It's already ag.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it was really fortuitous. So.
Good. Very good.
It appears the large animal element is going to be limited to horses.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's significant in this location.
Yeah.
And then I would ask staff, we're doing a surface water study. Is there any chance that some of this ground would be part of surface water control in the future? Well,
Well, I think what might happen here is this floodplain, this Zone A floodplain, is being studied. The property to the north is the Dickinson Public Safety Center. Our engineering firm for the city is doing a FEMA floodplain study here. And then as we work on State Avenue, we're also studying this same floodplain at several points. I think if anything, this floodplain is going to get reduced. I don't know if this particular reach of the channel is in any of those studies. I think it is, though, as we've had to kind of follow this channel upstream. But you're talking as far as regional
Is there any
ponds.
possibility that some kind of control structure could be located on this land?
I think, yeah, there might always be a possibility. Right now, the State Avenue project anyway has two new structures. The one that would more significantly impact this property is that right now there's 3 small culverts where it crosses State Avenue at the southeast corner of this property. It's going to be a box culvert that's going to be installed there. I think water that has been backing up and overtopping the road when State Avenue gets constructed, that should no longer be a problem. But as far as a control structure, our design right now for that crossing doesn't have any control structure like there is on 15th Street further down.
Okay.
So you're aware of all these future possible problems, or they may never occur?
I mean, with the flood plains in this.
Yeah, are fish included in your veterinary practice?
Not right now.
Okay. You may have a pond.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just had one comment for the applicant. On some of the drawings, it looks like it's showing, I don't know if it's phased construction or different alternatives.
Yeah, and so this is what was difficult is because of the floodplain, I'm not exactly sure exactly where to build because I need an engineer to go out there and do the soil. And so I gave various places to put the building and the different pastures. Initially, it'll be one larger building that has equine and small animal, about 5,000 square feet. As the equine develops, we might build a completely separate, facility, which will include a farrier. So most of the buildings are for animal activity, animal business.
And my general comment, not so much related to the floodplain, although that's a consideration, is that this intersection of State Avenue and 21st Street is going to be, and is getting to be already, a very, very busy intersection. And if future plans could accommodate an access that's further to the west, further away from this intersection, I think it would be a benefit to the traffic flow at the intersection and to the access into your business, too.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And there's already one access that's there going into that little house, right? So you would have 2 accesses, is what you're requesting? Or close one of those
Well,
access?
potentially on drawing number 2, it shows an additional access further to the west.
Yep.
And I would recommend anything that gets built new would be further to the west. And if possible, at some point in the future, eliminating the access that's going to the house as it exists now. And if that access, if there was one access to the property, I would be in favor of it as it's shown on drawing 2, further to the west. And like I said, if possible, if the access closer to that intersection could be removed in the future, that would be a benefit, I think, to, like I said, to the traffic flow and to the access into your business.
Okay. And then when, as I start, if it's approved, and I start figuring out, after, again, I have to wait till the engineers go in and see where I can build. When in that process do I come back and get all that permitting at that time? I mean, you prefer that, but what if it works out that I can't build there? Does that make sense, what I'm asking? I don't understand the process.
To answer your question,
Yeah.
this is the entitlement that allows you that land use there. And then
Okay.
from there, after this goes to city commission, and if it's approved at city commission with the established conditions, you would come in as a building permit. And part of the building permit, we would review your structures, you would have to delineate where that floodplain is at. We would determine where that access point should
Okay.
be, if it makes sense.
Okay.
And if we'll require the other one to be removed to grant you that other access point.
Okay.
So all that will be taken care of as part of the building permit review.
Okay,
for you.
so what Greg is he's suggesting as I'm planning that, is what I should
Right.
kind of plan for.
And you and I had talked about
Yeah.
providing some alternatives, just so you're vested in, and I knew that was the case on here, and that's why I put in my staff report that you provided various
Okay.
alternatives to the development, and so that you're vested in on the general location of it.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Lance? Comments? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
This time I'd ask if there's anyone in the public who would like to make comment on this please feel free to come forward. Any other comments from the commission? I just wanted one thing clarified. Probably not a problem, or I don't think it is, but we're going to, if we grant a special use permit, if it gets passed, in which it looks like, well, right now, the use of the property with a home on it, that home can still be used as a home.
Correct.
And
Under the agricultural, under the agricultural setting, yes. And in essence, probably this property would stay ag in perpetuity. It'd just be a orphan piece that would establish as part of the special use permit, which, you know, I'm okay. It's because that's reflective of the use that we're talking about. I think as a community, you want to have veterinary clinics. You want to have the ability to deal with larger animals in an appropriate location. My only concern, as I've mentioned to Dr. Lentz, is that it will be all urban around there, and I don't know if the noises or anything will affect the horses. So obviously they're going to be put into their building or barn, or more or less to try to mitigate that. But other than that, you know, it's a use that can work. It has worked in other communities as well.
And if the house is included in the special use permit, the whole property is, and the buildings, the structures that are currently there, and if in the future they choose to try to apply for a daycare permit for that property, is that a special use permit for a special use permit? What do we
I
do?
believe there are certain exceptions that they have by state statute. It just depends on the total number of kids that they're doing. And they keep increasing that to address the daycare issue that we have in the western part of the state. Right now, I think it's 10 or 12 if you have more than 10 or 12 kids or people. It doesn't differentiate. It could be adults as well that, you know, that have other disabilities that you take care of during the day. Then you apply for a daycare facility. That would be a special use permit for that. So that would be an additional thing if they needed to do that. But that's not the intentions of the applicant. And that would be true with any property. If you wanted to do one use on it and you had the ability to do that district to have another one, you just apply for another special use permit.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Being none, we'll close the public portion of this hearing, and I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Elkin?
I move the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the special use permit for a veterinary clinic as meeting all the requirements of the Dickinson Municipal Code and also being in the interest of the public health, safety, and welfare, along with staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Any further comments? Discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Recommend approval. Thank you very much. Can you clarify them? We'll let you hear from the staff.
Okay, we have 3 recommended conditions of approval. Prior to issuance of any building permits, the business shall be in conformance with all applicable Dickinson municipal codes, and the application materials submitted as part of the special use permit. The application materials are not sufficient for building permit issuance. That's just a clarification. It's for illustration purposes only. No building permit or land disturbance activity shall occur within the established floodplain until all applicable federal, state, and local permits are issued. And prior to final SUP approval, the property owner shall dedicate to the city 75 feet along the property lines abutting 21st Street and State Avenue, with the exception of a section of several hundred feet at the intersection of 21st and State Avenue to be dedicated to the satisfaction of the city engineer. The reason for that is we're doing the road construction. We're upgrading both of those, and we need the dedication in order to move forward on those projects.
Does the applicant have a copy of the staff recommendations? They must, right?
I believe we sent it to him last week. I don't know where Brandy's at that takes care of the minutes, but we send them to him after they're done, forward it out to him. So, did you receive that?
She did. I'm sorry. I'm Susan LaFleur at her real estate. The question being,
You need to come up.
You want to come up to the mic?
I'm not prepared. I didn't see it till just now.
You're a realtor. I thought you were all prepared.
No, I didn't see the recommendations till just now. Speaking for Shelley, as far as the city using, she has absolutely no problem working with the city. The concern is, what is the normal course of action as far as using that recommendation? Is there normally, what are you doing with the other landowners? She's paying a lot of money for the land, and as far as definitely wants to work with the city on it. Is there a normal course as far as buying that portion that you need?
That is something totally unrelated
Is it?
to
Okay.
this issue.
Okay.
What was the,
Okay.
I just wanted a clarification if I can, Mr. Chairman. What was the question again?
Are you asking for some of her land that you're buying from? I know I've gotten phone calls from, I think it was Mr. Kubis that owns land, and that you're buying it from him?
That's a negotiated effort. What we want to, we're trying to build State Avenue, we're trying to build 21st in here.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that that road, that is going to be dedicated. I understand that you've already been approached by our consultants in order to negotiate the purchase of that.
I have?
No, that's
Oh.
what you were mentioning, that
Right.
somebody has already contacted you.
Right, okay.
Work with the individual with respect to that. I mean, whatever the
I've been
negotiated
approached
price.
by the other neighbors in behalf of Mr. Philippi, the current landowner.
Okay.
Is what I was getting at.
I don't know how, I know that we need to buy right away in the particular areas. I just want to make sure, because we're running into problems with State Avenue and 21st, so securing right away, and we're trying to build those roads as quickly as possible. This is an avenue to make sure that at least we'll get the dedication, but you need to negotiate that with
So
whoever.
it's still negotiable?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank
So.
you very much.
You're welcome.
That was item 6. Anything else anyone would like to bring before the commission? Comments, questions? Notes of interest? Notation on a September meeting?
Let's see, September, we're looking at several items, may add one or two, just due to our light schedule. If I can get the amendments together, I'll bring them forward. I'm vacillating on, there's so many things that need to be rewritten, clarified with respect to Chapter 39 or zoning code. And I don't know if I should piecemeal it, or should I just rewrite the whole thing altogether. So I've started on it. I may bring it back in sections in order to do that, because there's a lot of things in our zoning code that need clarification on. And I'm trying to correct those and then also modernize it, bring it up to where our comprehensive plan, some of the principles that we have in our comprehensive plan as well. So I don't know if I'll have that ready or not at this point. So.
Thank you, Mr. Croton. The motion to adjourn,
Also move.
is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.